Hello, everyone. Welcome to It's Sybil. I am Sybil Wilkes. Some of the gang is all here. And let us say hello. Hello, Ahmed. How are you? Ahmed. Oh, there we go. Mike would be
Hi, how
helpful.
you doing?
Hey, hey, how you doing?
I'm here, everybody. How we doing today?
Cameron, that's the question for you. How you doing today?
I'm feeling great. Hope everybody's feeling good as well.
Is it warm enough there for you?
Yeah, it is hot as
I
it is
bet you
really
it's
hot.
not. I bet you it's not
Yeah.
hot as here.
Comparatively speaking, perhaps not, but it is very uncomfortable outside.
And is it the
We're gonna get to
humidity?
100 degrees next week,
Maybe even sooner than that. Um,
maybe. But I
yeah,
saw 100 for next Tuesday, and I was like, finally, I get to feel the
you know,
heat that Sybil be feeling for the last 30 days straight.
60.
I was
It's
like, what does
100,
115 feel like?
right? Right? Yeah. 115 in the
Never even
shade.
thought about that.
It's 103 right now, and that's supposed to be the high for the day. So
So
we shall see. I know that the warm weather is hitting the Midwest, even as far north as Minnesota. And Chicago is not only getting the heat, but you guys are getting the smoke too
yes, we are
from the
getting smoked
Canada
out.
fires.
We need to build giant fans on each of the borders to blow all the wildfire smoke away.
That sounds like something the Republicans would do in Texas. I can't.
But it's not like we're blowing away migrants. We're blowing
Well, no,
away
it sounds
toxic
like some
fumes.
ridiculousness that they would come up with. Blow the out of the water back onto the Mexican coast.
It's a
Uh,
fan. It's backed by science.
Absolutely.
Uh, the only fans I like are those that are over my head and keep the air movement going. But I'm sorry that you all are experiencing the return of the smoke along with the heat. So Damon is on a cruise this week and may
He's on
he
a
has
boat.
been able to join us in the past, but this may not be the week that he is joining us. But we have a special guest. Med is has invited a guest to join us today. For those of you
Yes,
who
I
are
have. Oh,
good,
I'm sorry.
uh,
I apologize, Sybil.
you are so full of amp and hype today.
I'm sorry.
No, no, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I just need to adjust to the that you are exhibiting right now. See, you just went to the grocery store. You sure you didn't stop and buy something else?
I took
Med at the
something,
med
but we
shop.
good.
Okay.
We are all good
Okay.
right now. We are all right. This is gonna be a fun show. Let's do this.
Okay. All right. All right, so let's move to the What You Need to Know newsletter. This is our Monday through Friday newsletter. We would love to have you subscribe. It is free. Please go to sybilwilkes.com to subscribe, and it'll be in your email box every Monday through Friday morning. And we have a number of different items that we touch upon daily, including politics. Cameron is a political contributor. His younger sister, Quinn Townsend Riley, is our LGBTQ plus contributor. Young Coy Malone is our social justice, and Aprilette Russell is also our mental health and wellness contributor. Those are some of the other areas that we touch upon each week in the newsletter, as well as the HBCU Corner and a little known Black History fact. We give you Black health and
Come on.
fitness, thanks to Cherie White, as
Yep.
well as maybe a birthday shout out. And of course, we can't ever forget the ever popular and much needed Yogi's Jewel that we
Come on
share
now.
with you every day. And for those of you that are not readers, you can get an audio version, a shortened audio version. You can read, you can watch, you can listen, and so that is also
Support
available to you.
and
Please support.
open the email.
There you go. Right there. Right there. That would be a bullseye right there. When you do receive the newsletter, please open it every day. That would help us in getting some more support for the newsletter. And I think that's it. So, Cameron, let's talk about your story. Tell us about Mayor Adams and seeking to narrow the gaps experienced by Black folks in New York City.
Yeah, Mayor Eric Adams of New York City, love him or hate him, has commissioned a report that you can read. It's called Analyzing the Racial Wealth Gap and Implications for Health Equity. Basically, what that means is that all of New York's scientists and statisticians have put together a study on what they believe the cause of health disparity, of health differences, and wealth differences across New Yorkers of different races and socioeconomic statuses. And it's a 40-page document. I've read it, so you all don't have to.
Of course you have.
And what they have determined is that wealth is health. And
or wealth is health?
Yes, wealth is health.
And so health is whatever all that other crap they've been telling us for years that health is wealth. That doesn't fly here.
Well, health is wealth, but
wealth is health.
But if you were wealthy, you're probably also healthy too.
Okay.
Oh.
So they've determined that that because Black people haven't had access to the same wealth opportunities, wealth building opportunities that our cream-skinned colored counterparts have, that is the reason for all of the other health disparities that we experience. They throw in a lot of nifty facts in there, a lot of which we already know. But what is different about this for New York is what they propose. And there are reparations task forces that are kind of bubbling up across the United States, from LA to Atlanta to Baltimore, and what Mayor Eric Adams, yeah, and there's some in Evanston, Illinois, as well. But what this reparations task force is proposing is that they want to increase Black New Yorkers' access to wealth building opportunities. They believe that wealth is an integral driver of health outcomes. And so by giving Black people more access to wealth building, we'll be able to combat some of the health disparities that we experience.
So your thoughts on this? Is this going to fly? Is it going to help? Is there going to be a real sense of reparations for Black folks in New York City?
I think Mayor Eric Adams is just calling upon Black people to get him re-elected in the next few years to come. If we want to see anything, if we want to see any component of this in the next coming years. I think that he is really throwing his hat in with Black liberals, because New York is a state, New York is a city that's as old as the United States itself, and he has considerably alienated himself from the conservative populace, whatever populace that may be in New York City.
Is it the same populace? He's more of a socialist, though, isn't he?
So he says. So he says. But he can be a little contradictory with regards to his outlooks on public safety. He can be a little contradictory with how he goes about using big government to do certain things. But he is definitely hoping that Black supporters keep him in power long enough to see any part of this plan come into place.
Is he kind of dancing out there? Look what I can do for you if you reelect me, but you gotta reelect first before we get this. Is it that kind of tease?
That's what I feel. I feel that any reparations at this point, unless you live in California, is definitely a tease for the people with the power to vote.
Let me ask you this:
I think it's in California too.
Oh, you don't think that's going to happen? So no. Med, you don't believe any type of reparations is going to happen anywhere?
No, I don't, because I think that because reparations is always a buzzword around election time, and whenever you have a buzzword around election time, I don't believe in it. If it's not something that is like actually worked on consistently or through over time, because reparations ain't just gonna pop up. That's something you have to work over time to get, because who's gonna get the money? How are we gonna figure this out? I know they're having all these researchers trying to figure out, but now we're having different states do different things. Are we doing things on a federal level? Some states say we might do it. It just feels like a buzzword just to get black voters to get to the polls. And whenever you have that, it's just lip service. God bless them. God bless both of them. Emmett Till and Mamie, what I'm saying? They're getting, these dedications and things like that. But it's like, that's what I feel like we get. We get dedications. We get holidays, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes to actual reparations and things like that, that's just buzzwords, things that come around every 4 years or every 2 years when somebody needs to be elected, and we keep it moving. Whenever I see a politician get interviewed on black media, what about reparations? Well, we're trying to get that. We're doing research on it, and you keep on hearing that over and over and over again, and nothing ever happens. I just believe that reparations, first of all, it's not going to come in a check. No one's getting a check. Okay, so let's stop that. It has to be in policies, and it has to be in ways to benefit black people. To try to cut into that head start that white America has. But I don't think it's going to be a check, because if you give us a check, all it does is keep white America ahead of us. The check's not going to do anything to help us actually close the gap.
Well, I would like to continue this discussion, perhaps with someone in Evanston, the home of Northwestern, which is not having a great reputation
Not right
these
now.
days, but
Oof.
definitely the city of Evanston, Illinois. I think, if I'm not mistaken, some people have seen uh, some sort of reparations in that city, whether it's
Mhm.
real estate or some other form of reparations. And I would challenge us to look a little bit further into that and see how that has worked, because people have received something,
Yeah.
and not everyone, but definitely money has gone out in some
It is
form or
just
another.
tough. I just feel
It
like
is tough.
when you go into that situation, it's going to cause more problems within our community trying to figure out who deserves. Because I was talking to my wife
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
I was like, I wouldn't get a check. I don't think I would get a check, because both my parents, like, my lineage stops. I was the first one born here
Hmm.
in America. So does that eliminate me from getting a check, even though being born here and having to, I had to dealt with systemic racism has affected me as a black person that's lived here. So do I get a check, or because my parents weren't born here, maybe I don't
Or
get a check?
or
So
Or do you give money to kids who haven't, or to Black people who have not been afforded the education that they deserve? And how do you give them
a lot
their
of questions.
reparations in that form? So yeah, there are a lot of different ways. California is a state that is trying to do it. Evanston, Illinois, is a small city that is
Hmm.
trying to do it, and New York is, as Cameron said, as old as the United States, and close to election time. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out and how amenable people are to participating in this. I've been blessed beyond measure, so I can't say that I would be looking for my 40 acres and a mule, unless I could flip that 40 acres for a nice lotto win.
Come
You know
on.
what I mean? It's like, I don't think that I necessarily deserve anything, because I have had great history in my family. My grandfather, and on one side of my family, on the other side of my family, not so much. And so, just based upon what
What does
my
that mean?
education has done for me, that I'm willing to share with those that, in my family, that have not done so well,
Hmm.
perhaps on my dad's side. So I don't know. I think that's a question that I would like for us to return to, and get some input from people who are involved in the process. I'm not saying that Mayor Adams is the one, but certainly perhaps people in California or someone in New York City who is working on to make that happen. Let's talk
Nobody in
about you.
Florida, though.
No, 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 because reparations
Please,
will
God.
never come as long as you have a certain governor. Let's
Nope.
talk about what did happen today, earlier today, and that is the number one story in the newsletter, and that is what Med mentioned, and that is
Sorry.
No, no, no. Why are you sorry? It's absolutely, it was a big day at the White House,
Hmm.
as President Biden recognized the life and times of Emmett Till and his civil rights trailblazer of a mother, Mamie Till Mobley, and signed the proclamation, making three sites, one in Chicago and two in Mississippi, national monuments. And so that is a big deal. And here's the other big deal. And somebody is really schooling the president, and I gotta give them credit where credit is due. He said not only was she the catalyst for the civil rights movement, and everyone does give Mrs. Till Mobley her due in that respect, but
Hmm.
also he gave it to the Black press. He
Absolutely.
cited Jet Magazine and he cited the Chicago Defender
Yep.
as those Black pieces of media that took the pictures and spread the word in their pictures and the story about what happened to Emmett Till, which was the insight, was the kickoff for the civil rights movement. Many agree, and we're talking, at the same time as Rosa Parks, but this was the impetus for the civil rights movement, and starting when Mrs. Till Mobley determined and made the declaration, this will be an open casket, and people
Right.
will see what white men did to this Black child because he was 14, he was a
Hmm.
kid. And so I thought it was a powerful moment, to not only include Emmett Till's family in this and those that knew and loved Emmett and can still, who are still here to tell us the stories, but also to cite the Black media and the role that Black writers and Black journalists and photojournalists that don't get the due that they are owed. Um, they got a significant shout out today. And not just because it came from the president, because it came from the White House. And whoever schooled the president on that and gave him the notes, and he said that Jet Magazine and the Chicago Defender, kudos to them as well.
He also
Yeah.
hosted a
He closed the speech
screening
with
of the
that.
movie.
I'm sorry, say, hang on, Matt, what were you saying, Cameron?
He also hosted a screening of the movie.
Till, yeah,
Hmm.
which is one of my favorite movies of the year. I don't think it got the due that it got the acclaim that it deserves, and including the young woman that played Mamie Till Mobley. Just an incredible movie, one of my favorite movies of last year, and if not of all time. I was taken away, just blown away by that movie. So I'm glad that they got to see it, and that members of that movie cast, the Black female director, the Black female lead, the young man that played Emmett Till, all got their shine at the White House too. I'm sorry, Med, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying that first of all, she got snubbed by not getting a nomination for an Oscar.
Yeah. Is
Um,
it Detweiler? Her name, her
I
last
believe so,
name
but
is Detweiler.
she's bad. She's really
Yeah,
really good, and she played the heck out of that role. And so,
right.
but no, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got.
And kudos to Whoopi Goldberg for producing that movie. That is, you just never know where what Whoopi's going to turn up on whatever side of the issue, but she is about, right and producing this movie, which told the facts about this and put the spotlight on Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley. Also in the newsletter on this day, we have our celebrity CPA, the CPA to the stars, Katrina Kraft, and 5 moves that can help you save big on the massive cost of college. A little late for some of us, but Med, it's you're going to be there sooner than you think. And so check this out, because 8 years old to 18 goes like that.
Quick,
Yeah, very
quick.
quickly. Yeah, absolutely.
Shocked.
And
Shocked. He's
and
8.
that he made it this far.
I'm like, geez, asking all sort of questions. But go ahead.
Okay, okay, that's another great show. One day we'll ask kids say the darndest things. What are the questions that they ask of you? Let's
Man.
move to the what's really going on question. And Med is very excited about this.
Yes.
And Med has a guest, Anthony AJ Joyner. And Med, I'm going to ask you to introduce your friend AJ Joyner, and if we can have AJ join us.
Yes,
There he is.
there he
Hi.
is, my guy
Hello.
AJ. Hey, how you doing, AJ? But first, before you get you're talking, I want everybody to understand who this man is. This man right here is a marketing guru. Met him years ago. He's helped me tremendously, and he's been on shows with me and helped people write books. Basically, we like our listeners were interested in writing books. Would listen to him, talk to him. He'd be giving marketing advice, but he would always lead people to say, hey, if you need help writing your books, I also do this as well. And we had about 20 authors, basically, from nothing to something through AJ and Blooksy.com. He created 20 authors from our audience. And so today, I want to start the hashtag Write Sybil Right. Write Sybil Right. AJ Joyner, how you doing, my man?
I'm amazing, man. How are you guys, man? I'm enjoying this conversation.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And I'm looking forward to this conversation as well. AJ, another seal of approval came from Griff, the comedian. This morning, I do the Erica Campbell show on Tuesday mornings. And he's like, oh, you guys are having AJ Joyner. I'm from Blooksy. And, that's my man. And, I know that, Med has really promoted him, but he gave you a thumbs up as well and sent his regards. So welcome. and welcome to the challenge too.
Yes,
I'm here for it. I'm here.
So AJ, go ahead. So go ahead, Sybil. I got you.
No. I'm following you.
Okay, so AJ, when it comes to like I said, we've talked a lot about marketing and things like that. But for you, when it comes to Blooksy, I want people to understand what is Blooksy, because right now we're in the middle of an age of AI and how big AI is and how helping people write and do things. But you've been dealing with AI when it comes to Blooksy for like the last 5 years. Can you tell people about what you have and what you founded and what you created?
Yes. So, well, first of all, thank you again for having me. AJ Joyner, I built Blooksy, the platform that Matt is talking about, during the pandemic. So prior to Blooksy, I helped people traditionally follow that path of writing a book, right? Well, during the pandemic, everyone was at home and people were sort of confused, right? So I had editors that would get COVID, writers, book cover designers. So I decided, what could I do to build a platform so that while they're at home, but at the same time, still collaborate with each other, right? At the same time, use some of the templates that aren't in Microsoft Word or Google Docs and have one interface where everyone could go to write and publish their books, right? So again, I built it with the idea was to streamline and accelerate the process. So I did a few things. Number one, when you go write a book, there's certain aspects of the book that every author understands. Readers don't pay a lot of attention to it. It's called front matter. And that's all the stuff that's static in the book that you see when you open the table of contents, your preface, your dedication, acknowledgments, all those things, right? Well, we built templates that were customized that already had that preloaded. The other thing we thought about was, Sybil, if you were to write a book and you were writing a memoir, for example, you know the stories that you want to tell. But when you sit down,
I can't.
Yes, she does.
I can't.
She's got plenty of them.
But you have plenty of stories, right? Now, if you sat down to write those stories, a lot of times what happens is people will get writer's block and they know what they want to say, but they can't quite get it out, right? So what we did first is we built AI-powered voice to text. So you can go into the platform, you click add chapter, click on the microphone, and you can just start talking and telling your story, right? Well, it would real-time transcribe that, add it to a chapter for you, right? And when you click add chapter, it would automatically add the chapter, automatically organize your table of contents for you, and give you a framework to follow to tell your stories, right? That's one component. The other thing we thought was, and again, everybody's talking about Chat GPT now, but we did this a couple of years ago before it was open to the public. How can you, if you're telling a narrative story about your childhood, how can you ask the AI to say, tell me a story in the day of a life of, and I'm from small town Louisiana, so I'll use that for an example. A day of the life or day in the life of a small town kid in Louisiana in 1984, right? So what the AI will do is it will go back in, because again, it's all data. It will go back to a day in 1984 and paint a picture of what a day in the life of a Black boy in Leesville, Louisiana, which is where I'm from. It'll paint that picture for me, not for me to copy and paste it, but to inspire thought, right? So now I no longer have writer's block because I can tell the story of what happened. But if I need to describe how Louisiana was back in the 80s, it will do a draft of that for me. I can say, oh, you know what? It is muggy in Louisiana, or it is humid, and there are big mosquitoes, and everybody's scared of the water because there are water moccasins and alligators, et cetera, right? So now as the writer, I have the story that I wanted to tell, but also the AI will help paint a picture of what it looked like back then, right? So again, the premise was to build a platform that people could access and write their books. And that's where we started, right? So again, in the beginning, I spent probably the better part of 20 years prior to that building software for CDC, Delta Airlines, Georgia Department of Transportation. I built software professionally. And during the pandemic, I decided to build my own platform to help writers.
Wow.
So that's where we started.
That's pretty magnanimous. Did you start out as a reader or a writer or as someone with an interest in books? Is that how it all started for you?
So it's actually kind of funny how it started. So my background is in process improvement from a software perspective.
What does that mean?
Okay, so I had a weird job, and I would go talk to executives in a company, and they would tell me what their problem was. Then we would build software systems to streamline whatever that process was.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So
process improvement. That makes sense.
Right. So I built Blooksy to improve the process of writing books, to make it easier. So I took the best of what I saw in Microsoft Word, the best of what I saw in Google Docs. There's other tools out there, Scrivener and a few other ones. I took the best of each tool and I put it all into one tool, right? Wow. So again, that's where I started. But then it's funny how this happened. So 3 of my first 10 authors were also professors. Said, well, AJ, I used your platform to write a book, but I'm also working on my dissertation in your platform. So I started to dig into that a little bit, and that led me to the University of South Florida. I flew down there, and 7 professors had already bought licenses that I didn't know, and they were using it to write proposals in the university space, right? So I recorded the conversation with them, and I understood, okay, well, here's the audience of people who they have to write research in order to keep their jobs for tenure. So, they said, listen, AJ, we're using your platform. How can we use it for proposals? So I showed them how they could leverage the AI for proposals. They took what typically takes about 3 months to write a proposal using the AI and using my platform. They did it in 11 days.
Wow.
Right. Wow. Then more professors said, we want licenses. And that sort of led me down the university space. So let me just fast forward. So today, Kennesaw State started in December with 20 licenses. November, they upgraded to 50. So these are real money. So starting January 1st, I got my first 7-figure deal.
Wow. That's awesome.
1.2. And again, this was all just an idea, right?
Yeah.
Last week, we just graduated 28 authors in partnership with the mayor's office in the city of Atlanta, 28 kids that we published in 5 weeks. Mayor Dickens said, so AJ, wait a minute, this is supposed to be an 8-week program.
In 5.
28 kids in 5 weeks. Yes. I had my 3rd meeting now with the California Department of Corrections. Speaking of reparations, they have earmarked over $100 million for recidivism program in California and 2 neighboring states. I fly to California September 6th for a program I created called Bars to Books, where we will empower prisoners behind bars to write and publish their books using the platform. This Sunday, I'm going to Beaufort, South Carolina, to work with the South Carolina Department of Corrections to implement the same program there on a smaller scale. So again, we started with this very small problem. And what I understood is if you can build software to solve a problem, you can get paid forever. People don't need to know AJ to use Blooksy, right? So again, they're buying the platform today.
Yeah, right. It does help.
Absolutely. But now I'm able to go out and train other people on the platform, and they can go out and use the platform to write and publish books. So it's just been a whirlwind. It's a lot of fun. We're going to be in 8 schools this fall, helping children write short stories, essays, haikus, poems. Again, the partnership with the mayor's office is expanding. We met with the High Museum. That's where I'm literally coming back from today. So again, one
of my favorite museums, by the way. I love that place.
Yeah. So the goal is ultimately we have stories. But a lot of times our stories go to the grave with us, right?
Mhm.
So imagine my grandmother, for example, and I found this out during the pandemic, having conversations with her. Her father was a sharecropper. All the experience that she had as a child, I started to interview her and write that into a book so that my daughter and my nieces and nephews can know about their grandmother, that she was actually more than just a grandmother. She was once a
Right.
teenager and she was once a high schooler. Imagine how many of those stories that we can tell now, because the goal is to lower the barrier of entry for publishing
Mhm.
books, right? And then eventually turn that into money.
So, Cameron, I want you to tune in too because Cameron is a creator as well. He's a filmmaker and also a playwright. And so, Cameron, do you have any questions for AJ?
I think it's a great platform. I mean, storytelling is how we've survived as a people this long, and you know, uh, the more families have access to just their archives of stories, the more people can become in tune with who they are and what their charge is. There is a reason why, yeah, certain youth nowadays are out here feeling that entrepreneurial itch. Little do they know they come from a family of small business owners, and the more that you can sit down and just have people tell those stories about their great great grandfather who used to create nails that went into shoes, and you can feel a part of something bigger than yourself.
And
You can
maybe
Mhm.
feel like,
even those from slavery who benefited from it. There, sorry.
Right.
Um, I have a friend who has written a book, AJ, and
Yes.
she did it with the aid of a coach.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the difference between what you do and what a coach would do for somebody writing a story?
Yes. So we do have coaching services, but I'm moving in the direction of providing a platform. So
Got
think
it.
of this as a better version of Microsoft Word, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It's web based. It has AI built in. It has all these tools to accelerate that process. Coaching is the person that's going to hold your hand and help you with the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
We have video training and things that do that. And I still do, like this past weekend, I did a weekend workshop where I do coach people. But the space that I want to move into is providing the platform for groups of people versus one-on-one coaching. And yes, I have a huge database of coaches. So if there's someone who needs a coach, or even a ghostwriter, for example, right? We have those people,
Mm-hmm.
those relationships, but I want to provide the platform so that anyone who wants to tell a story can tell that story using our
And
platform.
do you publish the books from there too?
Okay, so we provide a publishing checklist. So you use our tool for writing your manuscript and accelerating
Mm-hmm.
that process. Then we give you the literally a step-by-step checklist to publish it yourself.
And you
Um,
say, "Here's the book, go."
and that's where I want to be right now.
Mm,
Here's where we were initially headed through the publishing process. But what we realized very quickly is that universities will pay first.
mhm,
Right.
mhm,
So, for example, Kennesaw State, they know they're like, hey, we want 1,000 licenses because we want 1,000 people writing their dissertations or grants or all these things, right?
sure,
Whereas when we started working with users, it was a little more challenging because people would get discouraged after 3 months and they want to cancel their subscription, or
mm.
any of those things, issues that they run into. Totally different in the university space. So we pivoted toward the university space to provide academic writing, grant writing, dissertation writing, things like that.
So, to be clear, if people have any of these ideas or have an idea, they can go to blooksy.com, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's where they start.
That's where they start. And then, so we have our Wednesday night training. So if they go to chaptercreator.com, for example,
Mhm,
that's where we still do provide coaching. But ultimately, we want to get them maybe in a weekend session and maybe coach them up and teach them the process, and then
mhm.
set them free to go publish. Right. So we'll teach
Why,
them.
why, little writer bird?
Right.
Out there, right, right, right.
So yes,
We
we're providing that platform.
We do have people who have questions. Charlotte had one. Charlotte Bowen Bellamy on Facebook. This will open doors in our education department, our schools to start their first. Amazing. This is wonderful. Congratulations. And Charlotte, I don't know if you have a story or you have an idea for something. Annette Brady on Facebook says maybe AJ needs to have a talk with the Florida governor.
Your turn to
I,
silence us.
Okay, okay. Michelle Lynn Summerall on Facebook sounds like this would really help with research for details as you craft a scene. For sure. And that's what you're talking about, going back to 1984 in small town Louisiana and helping you build the picture and kind of lay it out there for people who may be stuck in trying to find that beginning or where to start the story.
Absolutely.
Because
Where would you start your story, Sybil? Where would you start your
in a
story?
sharecropper's cabin in the 1860s. I don't know. I don't.
Right,
I,
Sybil, right.
AJ, I will tell you, I am reluctant to
Mhm.
to write a story. I've had people tell me that I should write. I've had people volunteer to write for me. I've had people do the whole question and answer thing with me. And I just get to a point, I'm like, this is really boring to me. I don't know who
Really?
would want to know the story. And so that's my issue. I mean, I've had people give me great ideas, and I get to a certain point,
Mhm.
and I'm like, that's it. I don't know who want to open this book. And so that really is my issue.
So I would challenge that, and I know you've heard it all before, so I don't want to rehash that. But I think that the experiences that you've lived, you can help other people through those things that you've been through, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's a good starting point. And again, those doubts will always come, but it typically comes from people who have the most to offer, right? Because the other part is you know what you don't know, so you're constantly thinking about why would someone want to learn from me. It's because
Yeah.
you're naturally sort of good at the things you're good at and it comes natural to you. But a lot of people are looking at you and aspiring to be you, right? Or they're looking at the experiences that you've been through in your
Hmm.
life and they're saying,
Hmm.
man, I wish I could handle this, or I wish I knew how to get through this. I suspect that you could share some of your life lessons and it would really help people.
So the life lessons we get to, like, we're thinking maybe 10 life lessons, we get to four. And then, then we're kind of
Goodness
like,
me.
I got a fifth. We could go with the top five. I don't know. AJ, I absolutely love what you're doing. I appreciate Med for bringing you on. We are out of time, but I would like to invite you back to continue this conversation. I think that you are an amazing young man, and I love the story. And Tab B, can you tell the website, please? Tab B is
Right,
asking
Sybil,
on
right.
you.
Absolutely. So a couple different things. If you go to ajsfreebook.com, you get a free copy. My book is called Stop BSing and Write Your Book. You can
Mm.
get that absolutely free. And if you want to sign up for Blooksy, just go to Blooksy, BLOOKSY.com. And if you do want the coaching that Sybil mentioned, you can go to Chapter Creator. That's www.chaptercreator.com. And we walk you through the process every Wednesday night. And we have once a month, we'll have a Saturday workshop to get people kickstarted in their process. But
That's
Sybil, you
awesome.
should write.
And AJ, you should come back. And I think that the writer in the group is Yolanda Starks White, and she really is a very gifted writer. She's written books before, and she says she's kind of stuck and she wasn't prepared for this. But
Oh, Yolanda.
yeah, come back in and talk to her as well. Thank you
Sybil's
so
such a
much.
pro. Oh my gosh, she is so good. I can't stand you.
Can and Ned has a story too. AJ, how can people follow you on social media?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, that's where I'm the most active. It's just at AJ Joyner. That's AJJOINER on Instagram. And again, send me a direct message. Go to chaptercreator.com, sign up. I reply to every single message, and I'm here to help people, right? I think
That's awesome.
stories should be shared.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing your knowledge so far tonight, and we appreciate it. And please come back again.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, AJ Joyner, and thank you, Med, for introducing us to AJ and for a lot of
Not a
folks.
problem.
Let's move
Thanks,
to
Sybil.
trending. There is so much going on.
There's a
I don't
lot.
know if people went to sleep with this story or woke up with this story, but how about an 18-year-old superstar basketball player going into cardiac arrest while at
That is
practice?
that's
That's
crazy.
what happened.
And
That's what happened to LeBron James' 18-year-old son, Bronny. He had a real, I mean, it's been diagnosed as a cardiac arrest situation while he was on the courts at USC, University of Southern California. The
thank God
18-year-old,
he was at a practice. Thank God he was at a
and
practice,
they
not
had,
working out by himself. The medical
Yeah.
team was there to get him the help he
Right.
needed. You know, when you hear about things like that, you think about Hank Gathers, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying, who died on the court, you know, at
Yep.
the free throw line, you
Right.
know, shooting. And you know, the thought process is in the beginning when it comes to Bronny, it's like LeBron James wants to play with his son in the league. That was the big thing. You know,
Yep.
Bronny plays 1 year at USC, goes to the league, whatever team he goes to, LeBron's going to join him and they get to play together for 1 year. That's the dream. That all that goes away when you think of this young man having a cardiac arrest during practice. Now the question is, should he even consider to continue playing? Because, you know, if you have a situation like this with cardiac arrest, when it comes to the heart, it usually lingers. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
always something there. And it's like, now, where do you go now? LeBron, do
So,
you even play?
well, that's the question the family has to make, the decision that
Mhm.
they have to talk about and make that decision. But do you remember when Shaquille's son had a heart issue and
Yes.
he had to have open heart surgery?
Yep.
He had an anomaly in his heart, and it may be that that's what we don't know. We're just speculating. But
Look,
hopefully, in the investigation, they'll find out what the root of the problem was. We've all had, when you talk about hand gathers, but we, had friends of the family and their kids as teenagers have just collapsed on, playing basketball
mhm,
on the court, on the football field, on the
mhm.
baseball field. It happens more often than we know, and there is a reason for this, but he was in the right place at the right
At the
time.
same time. Yep.
He could have
Absolutely.
been asleep. This
I've
happened at
I've
nine
lost
something
friends
in the
like that.
morning. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we wish him and his family the best, obviously. As I mentioned, raising a lot of concern about cardiac arrest amongst young athletes and or even people who are not necessarily athletes but may be experiencing the same thing. It is becoming a recurring issue, especially among college basketball players. And as I mentioned about Shaquille O'Neal's son, Sharif, had a heart issue back in 2000. I want to say 17, 18.
Yeah.
When he was a teenage basketball star, he required surgery to fix this abnormality in his heart. And like I said, we don't know where Bronny is in this. He is in the hospital. He is out of intensive care.
Mhm.
But to have somebody who's gone through this, that's a great thing for him and his friendship with Sharif because they did grow up together.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, and God bless his parents. I know that they are worried silly,
Oof, oof.
and just want only their son to be well. And
Right.
if you can play with your dad, at home without, being on a professional court or whatever, as long as he lives to play again,
Yeah.
or to walk
Absolutely.
again, or to live again. I think that's the most important thing for him. And he got a lot of love from a lot of people saying, we're here for you. And I know I talked to our friends at the American Heart Association, and even Damar Hamlin sent him a note saying, wishing you the best if there's anything I can do. And Damar is a young man who collapsed on the field during a football game. And we all know his story now. So we wish them all the best.
Yep. Absolutely.
Tag, you're it, Cameron. The cold is gone, and the warm weather of summertime is now there in Chicago. As I said, also with the smoke, Midwestern and Northeastern states, the hottest weather of the summer, taking its aim at the Midwest and the Northeast, and punishing a lot of people in the Western states, the Southern, the Southeast states, with the intense summer heat, and finally making an appearance across the Midwest. And Cameron is feeling it now. Highs will surge towards 100 degrees in some Midwest cities, as well as into the 90s in the Northeast, according to weather.com. And overall, at least 45 states and more than 100 million Americans will endure temperatures of 90 degrees or higher. 90 would be so nice. 90 degrees would be just really nice
That
here, I
cool
gotta tell
breeze
you.
of 90 degrees. I
Yeah,
love it.
okay, okay.
Man.
Um, and the highs are going to jump all the way up the East Coast, and poor Vermont, they've really caught it. If it does warm up there, but they have been, just hit with the floods and everything. So
Right.
please, this climate change thing, I'm going to keep talking about it, and we're gonna have to do something about it. I'm not sure that electric vehicles are the answer because they are not performing as well in the heat as our old hoopties, the old fashioned fuel efficient cars that we have. So, but
And
we're
the
going to keep an eye
batteries
on this.
cause issues on their own too. It's like there's really
Right,
no answer. Like,
right,
like I'm
right,
like,
right.
how do you dispose of the batteries because they be leaking and it can be a problem too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm friends with the battery powered vehicles, the EVs as they are called,
Hmm.
and I know the gasoline is not, it's the devil's liquor and all that kind of stuff, but at least I know when I have gas in my car, it'll
I'm gonna
turn
get where
over.
I need to get to.
Yeah, exactly. So check this out. Did you guys hear about the one of the oldest people to ever be sentenced to prison for a drug sentence? This is in the case of Michael K. Williams. Remember the actor from The Wire, died
Hmm.
of a fentanyl overdose. The
Right.
72-year-old drug dealer in the overdose death of the actor was sentenced today to 2.5 years in prison, 30 months. And
This
I did
drug
not
dealer was
stutter.
72 years old.
72. 72-year-old Carlos Mackey was among four men arrested on drug trafficking charges tied to the death of Michael K. Williams, best known for his role as Omar Little in The Wire.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so a lot of people wrote in Mr. Mackey's defense that he should not be sentenced to prison. That there are other ways for him to work off his time. And one of them was the man who created The Wire. His name is David Simon, and he told the judge no possible good can come from incarcerating a 72-year-old soul, largely illiterate, who has himself struggled with a lifetime of addiction. What would you do
Whew.
with them, David Simon? I mean, because here's the other part of it. Even when they found out the part that they played in Michael K. Williams' death, they kept selling drugs. They didn't stop and say, "Oh, maybe we ought to back off of this and, till it
Oh
cools."
no,
They kept selling drugs.
because that's what they do. They
That's
don't
what
they
they
don't
do.
Michael K is a big name, but please believe me, he ain't the only one that's died using their
Yeah, and
product.
they got to keep making the money and they
They have to
got to
keep
keep
making the money.
selling. Yeah. Um,
Sybil, I have a hard time with this because you think about it, 72 years old, like you said, illiterate, addicted to drugs. Don't put him in jail. Put him in rehab or something like that, right? I
mhm,
guess that's something you can think of doing. But then you start thinking about what he has done. If this man's
right.
been selling drugs all his 70 for most of his
For
life,
65 years maybe.
60 at least, that's a lot of bodies. And 2 years is 2 years. Him being out, he actually might be better in jail, to be honest,
Yeah.
than being on the streets.
Cameron, what do you
Well,
think? Do you agree?
I mean, there is no way that our prison system can possibly benefit like a geriatric former drug addict at this point, and I just hope that he gets proper medical attention because he could very well possibly pass away in prison from just like lack of medical care. And at this point, I feel like I mean, it just shows how ill equipped our prison system is to deal with cases of this nature, and how punishment focused we are rather than rehabilitation.
Yeah. I don't know
I
what the
think the
answer
prison
is.
system. I
That's
wish the
why I'm
prison system
asking.
became an actual rehabilitation center for
Mhm.
these men and women, because that's not what it isn't that. But unless you're just sending him to a rehab facility where he can actually get well, and
Right.
get clean, I mean, there's nothing else you can really do. But putting him back on the streets ain't the answer. I can tell you that much.
No. And I'm not sure that jail is the answer either, but
Yeah,
he's got
strength.
to pay the price for, and I think 2.5 years when you're 72, I don't know what that looks like. But
Life.
yeah, it could be life. He will spend the rest of his days in prison.
But I look at it like this: he is 72 years old, drug addict. He's a 72-year-old drug addict. He's lived
Yeah.
his life on the edge for a long time. He can die
Right.
tomorrow in the
Right.
streets. So
Yeah. Just
to
as
hear that he
easily
might die in jail,
as
I mean, he can die tomorrow in the streets. So,
right.
it's a difficult thing to try to deal with. But outside of rehab, I don't know I don't know how else you punish people. It's like house arrest. Like I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. And putting him in David Simon's house and under his care would not be the answer of a Hollywood
No,
director. That would
no.
not be the answer either. The Obamas have called Jafari Campbell, 45 years old, a beloved part of their family. He was the sous chef at the White House when they got there, and then stayed on with the family as their chef after they left the White House. Jafari Campbell went missing around 7:45 p.m. Sunday at the Edgartown Great Pond, Massachusetts. State police said divers recovered his body in about 8 feet of water, around 100 feet from shore, just before 10 o'clock Monday morning. And they say that he went paddleboarding and someone saw him go under and not come back up. The Obamas made a statement about him and said that when they first met Tafari, he was a talented sous chef at the White House, creative and passionate about food and its ability to bring people together. In the years that followed, we got to know him as a warm, fun, extraordinarily kind person who made all of our lives a little brighter. Um, and they are asking for the prayers for his wife and his twin sons. He's been a part of our lives ever since, and our hearts are broken that he's gone. A couple of things here. There are stories out there about people who are drowning in pools, people who are drowning in water, large bodies of water. First of all, we've got to teach our children how to swim. And secondly, wear the life preservers, the jackets,
Please.
wear the life jackets. Please, please, please. I don't care how goofy it makes you look. I don't care, it's not cool or whatever. This can save a life. And this
So
might have
I
been able
can
to.
so I can swim. My wife is actually learning how to swim right now, which is really dope because it's funny watching her how good she's gotten in like a month. And then our son's
That's
been
awesome.
in swim class for the last few months, going up the ladder. But the thing is, even when she and I's gone, in the Caribbean and gone into the water, I would never, ever go into open water without a life jacket.
Hmm. Hmm.
Absolutely not. I'm never that comfortable in a
Right.
body of water, to be out there with no life jacket. And it's crazy because even wearing that, we were out there and not doing anything. We were just looking in the water. We look up, we are meters away from the boat. And we weren't doing
Right.
it, just pulled us out there.
Yeah.
And they had, of course, they're swimming people that were out there, were able to pull us back in. But it's like I'm swimming back and I'm like, I'm not getting any closer.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
getting any
I'm
closer.
I'm I'm
So it's
I'm
not a
really
joke out
working to
there.
get back. Yeah. Yeah. And
Nope, not a
riptides are
joke.
something else that you have to think about. And all of these things are, play a part in nature. And so all I can ask is please, please, let's teach our children to swim and adults. My mom took a class at Chicago State years ago, swimming for terrified adults. And she came through, and did a great job in learning how to swim. And I was swept away by a wave as a little one, where everyone except my mom could swim, and my mother's
Mm.
the one that went into the water and pulled me out. So it's one of those things that it's just you just never know. But please, 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 let's do what we can. I know there was a story about a young child that died at the home of a reality star not too long ago, and
Right.
just we just have to do the best we can in holding on to our babies and doing what we can to make sure that they learn how to take care of themselves. Let's move to entertainment. That's So Raven star Raven Simone is really so Raven. The TV star claims she can tap into energy fields. It sounds very
Mhm.
woohoo. To see psychic visions like her That's So Raven character did on television years ago. Though she can't see into the future like her character, she explained that she often witnesses moments that play out in her head or gets bouts of deja vu where she feels as though she's already lived the scene. I've had bouts of deja vu too, but I
Me
don't say
too.
that I have the gift. I think all of us pretty much have something like that. She said, I have moments where I really will just stare and I will see a scene that is happening to me or is going to happen to me in another dimension. I'm like, yo, this is so weird. That's so Raven.
Yeah,
But yeah, Med, you said you have too.
of course, of course. And with Raven, I
I
think
should be
she
able.
might have had some psychedelics as well. Maybe a few brownies. Yeah. That
She,
enhances those powers, if you will.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
See, a lot of
According to
things.
the she says they're enhanced by her spirit guides. So I don't know if her spirit
Yes,
guides are something medicinal or herbal. Um,
mushrooms,
Are her spirit guides in the room with us right now?
maybe.
Yeah, you can't go telling people those things out loud.
well, because next thing you know, they'll say, "I'm your spirit guide," and take you around the world there.
Or take you to a
Let us
hospital.
or let's move to the daily inspiration, Yogi's Jewels. This is the theme this week. Asking for help is wise. None of us makes it in life successfully alone. We don't come in alone, and we're not going to make it through life alone, I think is what we're
Not at
hearing
all.
here. All right, so together, let's say goodbye. Thanks, you
Well, I have
guys,
a
for
question
coming
for you,
together today.
Sybil. Before we go, I have a question for you. No, this is serious. It's a serious
Yes.
question. I'm not. No, Sybil, this is serious. Um, when is Quinn coming on? What day is she come on?
Quinn is on Wednesdays.
She's tomorrow. Are you guys going to be talking about Just Hilarious?
I don't know. I have that written down as a note. Yeah, I think we should.
Because I don't feel like I wanted to talk about it, but then I'd be thinking about I'm not equipped to talk
Right.
about it, and I ain't trying to
Right.
get nobody in trouble around here.
Right. Right.
But I
Absolutely.
think,
Absolutely.
but that conversation needs to be had, and I know
And
Quinn
I
would be
think
the
she's the
perfect
one
person
to
to have
have
it.
it with. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm hoping tomorrow y'all tackle that.
I promise.
So
I
that's a
have it in my
request by me.
notes. Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. And a request by me. Have a happy birthday, man.
Happy
Hey,
birthday.
yes, I will. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you all soon. Take
See
care.
you all later.
Aloha.